After Hera's released, we'll have something around 98 gods in the game, and that will leave 2 gods left until 100 gods in the game. 100 seems like a special number. I don't think Heroes will ignore the fact that they've just passed 100 gods at that point. But who exactly could these last 2 gods be? We're going to go through a few of the different mythologies in Smite and see who some likely candidates are. So, starting off with Norse mythology, we have Heimdall, the god's watchman, whitest skin, lived in his own castle in Asgard. Himmelsbjorn, meaning skycliff. He only needed little sleep and had such reliable hearing that he could even hear when grass was growing or that a sheep was developing a new coat of hair. He could see for several leagues away, even during the darkness. He was tasked with guarding the Bifrost, the rainbow bridge of the gods that only the gods could walk upon. Horn was among one of his other items and duties. When the enemies of Asgard were getting too close for comfort, he is to blow that horn, which would alert the gods and could be heard throughout the worlds. But Heimdall's birth is quite an interesting thing. He was born to 9 mothers, the 9 waves. They were most likely mermaids, but they were all sisters. Now, the thing is about this is that either Odin laid with one of the sisters, and to cover her tracks from their father, the other 8 sisters kind of had her back and claimed that they all did the business with Odin, or they actually all did the business with Odin. And they are quite dangerous beings, so that's no small feat on Odin's part. Last thing to say about Heimdall is that he's got a connection with all people. Before he was actually made the Watchman of the Gods, he was present when 3 couples were preparing their families. The first was serfs, and thanks to Heimdall, they eventually gave birth to Thrall. Now, he was ugly but strong, and also the ancestor of all serfs. Then a family of farmers, and same sort of deal. Family eventually gives birth to a chap called Karl, who is quite a skilled farmer, and is the ancestor of all farmers. The last ancestor is the ancestor of all nobles and warriors. He is intelligent and skilled, and his name is Jarl. Next we have Dagdar, one of great wisdom, and all-father, and a leader of the people of Danu. He had a cauldron that was never emptied, fruit trees that were always ripe with fruit, and 1 living pig and 1 not living pig. His weapon could take life and restore it. It needed 8 men to carry it, but could slay 9 people with 1 blow. If you were to touch the other end of the weapon, the handle, your life could be restored. His harp could summon the winds and didn't need anyone to play it for it to play beautiful music. He was going to do battle against the Fomorians, the enemies of his people. Avoiding conflict with Dagdar for fairly obvious reasons, he's a pretty strong guy, they made him porridge and claimed that he'd never be able to finish it. But not backing down from the challenge, he gulped up the porridge without a second thought. The Fomorians were laughing at him, because they filled the porridge with milk, flour, pigs, sheep, goats, and a few other things. But Dagdar didn't really care. See, Dagdar agreed to meet the Fomorians as a sort of distraction so that his people could prepare and that they were ready for conflict that was coming up against the Fomorians. So Dagdar won that. And now we have Saraswati, the wife of Brahm that might have been given to him as Vishnu had enough wives. But she was still the goddess of wisdom, arts, and knowledge, and you could see her dressed in some sort of white sari. Anything that would represent purity, such as a swan for instance, was linked to Saraswati in some way. Near the beginning, Brahma existed amongst chaos, and nothing that existed was solid. A Devi emerged from Brahma's mouth, and carried by a swan, she offered him wisdom and knowledge. She tutored Brahma, providing him the essential knowledge he needed to tackle the chaos. And with it, he set things right, I suppose you could say. So she'd be a pretty handy god to just have around. Next up we have Huracan, who is a god of wind, fire, storms, and a creator god. He caused the great flood after the 2nd generation of humans angered the gods, and was present during all 3 attempts creating human life. Sometimes he was aiding Kukulkan, other times he was aiding Hunabku, the supreme creator deity, but either way he was still there. Despite all of this, you might be surprised to know that he's in fact a 1-legged god, and his name is where the word hurricane comes from. Continuing on, we have an Egyptian deity responsible for war and storms and deserts. He's known as the Red God, though it's not too clear why, and comes with donkey ears, scorpion tails, and sometimes even a hippo head, though most commonly you'd see him with an aardvark's head. He might enjoy a bit of carnage here and there, but sometimes he gets a bad rap for things that might not necessarily be 100% within his control. See, after his sister Nemesis slept with their kingly brother Osiris, Set confronts his brother, and the resulting conflict means that Osiris loses his life. Nemesis continues to flee from her former husband, and Isis travels around the desert to recover the former parts of Osiris that were scattered across the desert by Set. There's one particular part that just cannot be recovered, and so Isis ends up fashioning him a replacement and keeping that within her. Thanks to that special part being within Isis, a son between Osiris and Isis is born, Horus. Years later, Horus challenges Set, and their conflict lasts 8 years. One of them loses an eye, the other one loses a testicle, but ultimately, Set is defeated. Now there are variations of what actually happens to Set after his defeat, but some say that he becomes the voice of thunder, and that he's never quite forgiven the gods for this whole ordeal. Moving on to the last goddess we have here, Canaan, goddess of mercy and compassion. A selfless deity, compared a lot to Guan Yin, who was another sort of selfless deity that made a lot of sacrifices to better and improve other people's lives, or help those in need. She was a Bosatsu, an enlightened Buddhist being. Essentially, they could reach another plane of existence, but rather than doing that, they stay behind to help those in need. As such, he spends a lot of time tending to tormented souls who just haven't seen the light. A shame. As such, he spends a lot of time cheering up tormented souls. Now, whilst I only gave you some fun information, now here's the fun part. Now that I've given you all these gods, do you think any of them could actually be gods 99 or 100? And do you want any of them to be? Do you have other gods that you'd prefer? And do you think that they could not only either improve the game in some way, have some beneficial impact in that sense, or help the story of Smite better than these gods could? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, but if you enjoyed, go ahead and leave a like, and of course, subscribe to the channel if you want more content just like this. If you're looking for something else fairly similar to this to watch right now, go ahead and check out the video I did yesterday on Huracan. But until the next video, have a very good day. I have been Brian, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.